contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is Warp Chatter.
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
All right, we are back again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Warp Chatter podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy lore, Warhammer 40,000, everything that encompasses. I am your host, Scuffy. This is a podcast by players for players, and we've got a returning player. I think this might be your fourth time on. Number one, JP101, is joining us today.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm back.
And then with us, as always, is the Crab co-host, Axel Manning.
Howdy, howdy, ho.
Hello. So we've got a little bit to talk about today. We are going to be talking about the recent balance patch that came up this last, actually, as of this recording yesterday. Made some changes to the game based off of the most recent meta report. We're also going to be talking about the upcoming World Cup tournament as far as registrations go, just to kind of get some news and information out there for people who should know about that if you're interested in getting into the World Cup. But before we do that, really quick, Juan, you've been on here several times before, but for people who didn't listen to those episodes and who don't know who you are, tell us about yourself.
I'm Juan. I've been playing this game for about 3 years. One of the best players there was. And, I don't know. I'm sort of just here, trying to play the game and not die to all the random stuff that there is.
All right. Sounds good. That's a good summation, I think.
Just trying to play.
Just trying to play the game. Just trying to have fun. That's really what it comes down to. Have fun, play the game, enjoy yourself. Now, Juan, you were not on the Team USA for the first World Cup, but you were part of Team USA for World Cup 2, which was out last year. I think that's when we first had you on, along with the rest of the Team USA members. Are you planning? I know you signed up for registrations for Team USA. You plan on playing on it, hopefully?
Hopefully so, yeah. As long as the qualifiers aren't too rough, I plan on making it again.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the World Cup really quick before we get to the balance patch, because I think the World Cup, there's still a lot of information that we don't have, so we can't really go into the details. Right now, it's in the registration phase. So for those who don't know, the World Cup is one of the biggest tournament series that the community has, and it is just that. It is a tournament based off of countries, players' countries of origin or country of residence, depending on where you are.
There's a bunch of players who are just based off their residence.
Yeah,
Germany had one.
We have you basically form teams. It's historically been teams of 3, with others in your country or in your area if you don't have enough players to represent your country, and then every team plays against teams, whether it is in a group stage, and then they proceed to the finals, or I think the initial, I think the first 2 both had group stages. So you play in a group stage, and then the top 2 or 3 or whatever it is, depending on how many contestants, how many teams there are, advance to the final stage, and then the finals play out as a standard tournament. But it is, you get players from all over the globe, from the best players in every country, in not just the Discord, but across the Discords, because it's of all languages. So you've got people who are in the Russian VK community. Apparently, I had no idea that there was a French Discord until this year. Spanish, I believe Spain or Spanish speaking have got their own Discord. And
I think they do. I don't know.
I heard that there's an Italian Discord too, which
is there?
That's what I heard. So
that's crazy.
I think, well, it's not entirely crazy, but yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, it's not entirely crazy, but at the same time, even after 4 years, a surprise that there's so many people out there that maybe don't typically plug into the English-speaking community, which is fine. That's the whole point of it being a global game. But this is really the one format where everybody has on the same communication wavelength, and they play together, and it is a tournament series that runs usually several months, and the first period is the registration period. That's where you, if you're interested, you want to go to the Discord, whatever Discord you're plugged into, find that sign-up document and register yourself if you want to play. You don't have to be a good player. You just have to want to play for your country, and you will either be, paired up with 2 other players in your country to form a team of 3, if that's the team size, or if there are multiple registrars for a country, let's say USA, just because myself and Juan are here, we've got 4 other people who register, perhaps there's 6 people, then we have to have our own qualifier tournament to determine which 3 would then form the team. And so if that's the case, if you're from a country that has got a lot of participants, France, Russia, perhaps England, Spain, there's other countries out there, but I think those are the biggest ones that have got the biggest, more player base that are more likely to sign up. Then there might be some qualifiers to whittle down the population. So even before you get to the World Cup stage, you get a lot of tournament play. And then prizing hasn't actually been announced, but historically, prizing has offered the Blood Games card back. Blood Games 1, Blood Games 2. I would imagine Blood Games 3 is hopefully on the line for World Cup, and it was really the first and only way that you could get the Blood Games card back was by participating and making it to the top cut. Yeah. So there's pride, there's patriotism, flag waving, there's playing with new players maybe that you don't ever typically interact with, and like I said, it's one of the biggest ones out there, and it's a event that I really look forward to. I'm registered up. I'm hopefully get to play and or get to play through to be added on, but I can't say enough for it. But we want to make sure that we get that information out there. Now, have you guys, Axel, have you guys heard anything else beyond what I've said? Have I covered everything?
You covered as much as I know so far. I know it's another 2 weeks. By the time you hear this, probably 1 week before planning even really happens. Because we still got to, I say we, Zacharias and whoever's hosting it still has to figure out all the kinks. I'm hoping there's another Blood Games card back, though.
Yeah.
So far, everything's still just in the not the qualification, but the sign-up sheet stage. So as far as public information, I think you stated everything.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a date for registration to end. I'm looking at the pins here. I don't see an end date for registration, but like you said, Axel, like there could just be 1 week left. It probably could just go through mid-May. And then at that point, that gives the tournament organizers time to set up the qualifiers out there. Looking at the list now, just as we are recording, oh wow, a bunch of people hopped. Oh, they just sorted out. I was like, what? They sorted out. So it looks like so far we've got players from Australia, France. Apparently, country is just a baguette country.
Makes sense.
Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Germany, UK, Finland, France, the Netherlands, Georgia, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Kyrgyzstan, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Ireland, Russia, Serbia, Slovakia, South Africa, Spain, Ukraine, and the USA, Argentina. I think that's a lot. Now, granted, some of those are just one player, and as I said, if they don't have enough for a full team, they'll try to merge them into another team or another qualifier. But that's a lot of representation. It's a lot of global representation. Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
It'd be nice if we had the UK not as one giant blob this year.
Yeah,
last year was Team UK, but
it
no
was UK and England,
people.
Right? It was like Team UK and Ireland and some other. There was like a third one in there. I thought I can't recall off the top of my head.
It was Scotland.
Scotland, that's what it was. Yeah. So this time,
England and Ireland lost their qualifiers, or Scotland and Ireland. So it was just Team UK, which was just English people.
Okay. So it looks like Ireland might very well have its own team this time. They got 2 players already, I think they might be able to get a third. For USA so far, we started with a slow start, but now we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 signed up for the USA. So we're definitely going to have a qualifier. Canada, Germany, Russia. These are other countries that look like they've got multiple players that are going to be qualifying as of this recording. And hopefully we get a lot more. Hopefully this news reaches you, the listener, if you're interested. Again, you don't have to be skilled to play. You just have to want to play. Whether or not you get to play, that's where it comes down to it. And honestly, it's worth the effort. I don't stress that enough. I think the World Cup and the Lodge Wars tournaments are my favorite tournaments. They're just worth the effort. There's so much more that they're involved with, and I'm promoting it here while we can to spread the word. And as we did last year with the World Cup, once it gets formed, I would hope and try to have as many of the teams that we can get on the podcast to kind of introduce themselves, talk about themselves as players if they haven't been on the podcast before, and where they're at in the World Cup, and and we'll make our predictions and see what teams will advance. It's way too early to make predictions right now. We don't even have teams really, but
yeah. I mean, I can make some like Team Canada winning again, but that's obvious.
I'm gonna say at least Team USA we're gonna be top cut. We're a top cut team. We're a 5-star man, Axel.
God damn it! I like our odds. I like Team Canada.
But
I don't know.
What do you got, Juan? What do you got?
Y'all have lost probably what's his name?
Lucy?
Pirate. And I mean, without Pirate, he was the glue that stuck them together now. I mean, LCFR, as people have said, he's a washed-up has-been.
How dare you? Lucy's still kicking.
I don't know. We'll just have to see how they fare this time around.
All right, that's some early shade being thrown, but this is correct. This is proper. This is how we do it.
We have some Canuck boys still around. We're not all gone.
No, you're not all gone. You're just you're in the penalty box. That's what it is.
Wow.
Yeah,
with that
I hit you at the hockey. Oh, you like that? You like? I was gonna throw syrup at you, but it stuck. So.
God damn it!
Well,
how do I come here?
With
the abuse.
That's exactly it. That's because you're too polite. You're a Canadian. You just you can't say
lie.
No. Well, with the World Cup information out there, I think the next thing we plan on talking about here, and it's probably the rest of what we're going to be talking about for a bit, is the balance patch. That came out, as like I said, yesterday. Not a massive balance patch, but a significant balance patch. Covers quite a few things to go with it.
Really, it's a lot of the focus was the event, which by the time you hear this, it's like a day that you're going to be able to use a balance patch.
Yeah.
Know it.
I mean, at the same time, it will carry over because we're getting Saul. We're getting Saul Niebuhr.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way we're not. And
we're getting Saul Nido King.
Yeah.
Kazram didn't come back in time to get his action.
I know. I was like, I saw Axe up. I was like, where's Kazram? He needs to be summoned. He needs to return. But, and she did not stand a chance. Like, this is probably.
Not at all.
This is probably the biggest landslide event result I have ever seen. And I mean, we've had some where it's like, it's pretty stiff. Where it's like, man, that they didn't stand a chance. This was stiff and
massacre.
Yeah, and I will say this: Insurgent Leader is actually really, really strong and just wrecks Saul. The problem
Not only is it really good, but it's fun.
It's the fun. You can just play hot cultist mess and just ramp. He's almost like a he's like
Kazdrak.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a mini Kazdrak on your turn. The problem is he's really weak to Amon, who is the other loyalist pick, who is really just the best pick. Amon is just tits.
Oh,
that's just the way it is. But Saul Niebuhr, I mean, he needed the change because going into open play, it's like, what were they thinking?
I was just comparing him to all the other, humans that are in the neutral pool, and they all have 30 HP. Why is he the exception?
Yes.
They said that all Imperial Army troops are supposed to have 30 HP. Sorry, Warlords.
Yeah.
Because they're normal people. And then they brought Saul, who, might I add, is a very cool character, and he's probably got a bunch of cybernetics in him because he's like 400. But he's just a dude at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, and Oxub, too. Oxub was also tagged as a 35 HP. Insurgent Leader has 35 HP.
Chaos has always had its own treatment.
Yeah, it's a little interesting because historically, like you said, like the only warlords for the Imperial Army that don't have 30 HP is Cork. And
yeah, because he's an ogre.
Yeah, because he's an ogre. Even Kalidas Assassin has got, 30, although technically, she could become a 35 hit point warlord, but she still has 30 hit points. So
she will look like them, but she's not them.
So I mean, it was just a consistent thing. The Mechanicum always had 35 because they had the enhancements, and then you get a 40 because you got Scoria. It made sense. So he had that hit point change. And let's just roll through the list here, because it's a short list. And then we can kind of go through and talk about all the diddly-doos. So I'll start with the timed event changes, because we're already talking about that. Saul Nieberin had his health lowered from 35 to 30. That's it. Didn't change anything else about him. The Hierophant, which has been an event warlord for a long time, actually got his change to as passive now steals 1 health from a random unit instead of a friendly troop, which means his own troops might survive longer. And that actually could be a little bit interesting down the road. The Imperial Army Sergeant, his ability now gives +1/+1 instead of +1 and O, as well as flank, right? They still get flank, so +1/+1 and flank. And then Helic Mauer gains your tactics cost 1 less, which I thought was the...
Remember Master Order as a person, right?
Yes, yeah. For 0, she copies a tactic, the last tactic played. What's interesting there is, I mean, we've talked about it a long time, just wait till they give us a warlord whose tactics cost 1 less, because we've had Lucretia out there, and we finally get one, but it's an event warlord that copies tactics that we really won't see unless she ends up becoming a raid boss down the road. Or I won't say raid boss, a raid reward drop.
I'm trying to think, is there any scenario where they can get their hands on a certain Alpha Legion legendary? I don't think there is.
Are you talking in the event?
Yeah. Right now I don't think, because it's an infantry, so Pharos ain't producing it.
No.
Kai wouldn't produce it. That's a shame, because I really wanted to live in a world where they realize they can't make it cost 1 less because of Bronzy.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they add her as a neutral, just so I can, as Bronzy, give her Bronzy.
Get Chewbacca Bronzy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chewbacca Bronzy. I went.
Architect of Bronzy that you got from Crucial Choice or Kai.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just heresy all over the place.
Yeah.
Then again, you wouldn't get the rally from Bronzy, so you'd have to...
You would have to also have a trap.
Chewbacca.
That's true.
Well, Bronzy gives you a trap on rally.
Yes, exactly. You wouldn't get the rally if you architected it.
Yeah, which is why you would have to play it from hand. But if you do, and you get something like, let's say, I don't know, Enemy Within, and you just put 100 of them in their deck, they'll die.
And then they don't draw it, and then you lose. Yeah.
They have 2 cards left. They still don't draw it. It's possible.
57.
I think they would likely, once they saw that you were playing traps indefinitely, they would probably resign. Unless they really just hated themselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless they're a masochist.
Yeah.
They'll just accept it.
So those were the changes to the event stuff, the event warlords primarily. We also had changes to the Raven Guard, Space Wolves, Night Lords, and the Imperial Fists in the form of mostly warlord changes, but the Raven Guard had their Sons of Shadow, their mission card, lowered the cost, or the requirement, I should say, from 10 to 8. And the reward, Raven's Vengeance, now has enemies just have sentenced 1 as opposed to stacking sentenced one resolution. Space Wolf's Giger Fellhand loses his initiative. He goes from high to medium. Sevatar loses his initiative at the Night Lords and goes from high to medium. And then the Imperial Fist, we got a Sigismund change. His ability is changed to, first off, after attacking, he deals 1 additional damage to the target. And then for 1 energy, he creates Death's Champion in your hand. And Death's Champion is a 2 energy tactic, or card. It's not impacted by tactic cards. Changes description to your warlord gains +1, O, and frontline until your next turn. So Death's Champion can now be generated, and instead of increasing the warlord's attack by 2, it's just by 1. But it lasts until your next turn still, just as the first one did. And Sigismund's ability is a little bit more, well, I can't say a little, it's way more offensive than it was before. He can actually pressure and put things on. That additional 1 damage will hit Survivor It'll hit stuff inside drop pods. It just is a great way to take care of 3 health troops. And if you throw out Death's Champion on him, then he technically has a reach of 4 to do those things. So, let's start at the top. I know, Juan, you said you had thoughts. You had thoughts on the Raven's Vengeance.
Now, I'm going to say Juan's opinion before you'll even say it, because I know this is what he thinks, because I think the same. This isn't a nerf. This is not a nerf.
So, at the end of the day, how I see this, they lowered the cost to get one of already the easiest missions to achieve. One Shadow Killers achieves this mission, lickety split. And then they gave you the reward immediately. You don't even have to wait for the Relentless. If you don't have enough energy to play it the turn you get it, you can play it the next turn. It's the same effect instead of you having to wait those 2 subsequent turns. They get the immediate effect. The Sentence 1 was always the most damning thing. Sentence 2 was just you lost the game. Might as well resign at that point. But Sentence 1 was where you were down in the mud pits. You still didn't stand a chance, but maybe you could do something with it. They get it immediately. All their cards that reward sentencing or punish sentencing further by adding more, stacking it on top. Their Furies from Above get immediate effects. It's just, they did not nerf this card. They buffed it, making its cost easier to get and the effect immediate.
So what I'm hearing is mad.
So they, in nerfing Space Wolves, or well, not Space Wolves in general, but Geiger and Sevatar, we no longer have that rock, paper, scissors meta that we did last month during April, where it was either you run into Geiger, Corvus running mission, or Sevatar. Now it's going to be a Raven Guard filled season.
Yeah, I really don't know what they were doing with that. At first I looked at that and I was like, oh, hey, it doesn't stack anymore. I thought it was still Relentless, or at least it was next turn they gain it. No, it's still it's now this turn. So I'm like, oh, they didn't nerf it. That's cool.
Yeah, the speed there is, I mean, that's not even 2 turns. Like, it's just 2 triggers, which you can get in 1 turn. And then, like you said, like you can play it right away, and then can keep it going with another 1 damage or other things that you've got on the board after you've maybe already played a sentenced card to get the mission to begin with. I don't know I don't know if they just didn't think about the timing there. If they thought, well, we're changing the not stacking, so we've got to lower the cost. They could have been cost. Let's be real. It could be cost 12, and it would still be obtainable and still be a win con as it is now. Not terribly hard. It could actually go up and not really impact the Raven Guard's performance if it were to keep the Raven's Vengeance as it is now. I don't think so. I think that would be maybe the only thing they could do with that is just raise the cost to be like, okay, if you get it, you're going to use it 1 time and you're good to go. Because that's really where it's at this point.
So,
the solution is make it borderline unplayable.
My supposed fix all of last season was, after I had played the Night Lords campaign, which also came out last season, why is the Night Lords mission when they kill it? That's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't the Raven Guard one be, when an enemy dies with sentence damage, its cost is reduced? I even think that's more understandable than the Night Lords one.
Hell, I'd be happy if Raven Guard was changed to make it so, how do I word this? It doesn't affect your Warlord. It only affects troops. Every troop your opponent plays has what's it called? Sentence.
Yeah, I thought that would be that would be the change, or just your enemy Warlord has Sentence 1, which is still painful, but allows you to respond with a board. But it looks like none of us got what we thought it could be.
Yeah, actually, we just kind of got.
It was just an actual buff, which no one saw coming from left field.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and you said with the Giger and the Sevatar out, because Korix has high initiative, so he'll get to go first over those guys. Now, granted, the Space Wolf counterattack and the Night Lord's counterattack aren't terrible, but I mean, if they're dropped to medium, they're not gonna. It's harder for them. They could still exist, but is there any other contender against the Raven Guard? Like the Imperial Fist, like don't get me wrong, like the Sigismund change is nice here. For Sigismund.
Yeah, we'll cover that eventually, and I do like that change.
The only thing that Bastion throws off sentencing, but you got to play Bastion, and you got to get the Stalwart, and there's still units that the Imperial Fist have that don't have Bastion or don't get it right away, so they're susceptible to that. Like, I mean, what's there that really can just... Because now, I want to, like I said, like one turn earlier, maybe even 2 turns earlier, Raven Guard can get the Raven's Vengeance and really reap and sow with it out the gate. Like, is there anything that's got speed to contend with that, or are we just Karning? Is that what we've got to do? Do we have to Karn again?
I think we have to Karn again. I think it's a fate we have to live with. Karn can also screw himself, though.
It's true.
Sentence lasts a couple extra turns or something.
Now, I'm not going to say that Corvus is taking over entirely, because I still think he can be rushed down. I've been using a lot of White Scars. Not mission, mind you, but there have been White Scars mission players as well. They seem to be fast enough to keep him in line, but it's still just a toss-up, really.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody running, Jiangsai. Jiangsai's okay, but just Targetai. Targetai with the ping.
I think that's the worst part about this all, is we can't say this is bad enough where it's unplayable. It's just bad enough where it's not fun.
Well, and that's bad enough. When the Raven Guard become a negative play experience where people just don't want to play them, especially it's like turn 1, play the mission. All right, well, I can see where this is going. Like, there have been
just the lack of interactability, the stealth, the fact that you have to draw your anti-stealth, the fact if you build a board, they have shadow killers for that.
Yep.
They have just contingency plans for everything that you do, to the point where you can't succeed. He has 40 HP. You're not going to rush him down fast enough. He's going to get mission. You're going to get sentence 1 and then pinged to death somehow.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not like they're short supply on ping. They gave him a bunch of it.
They have
and
a
his
lot.
neutral ping.
They have a lot of ping. They could stealth and get their ping stuff set up. They could burst ping. They could just like drop. Like, they've got a lot. And I mean, it's not like they didn't have that before. Shadow Killers, I think, was the one piece that they didn't have. And then you throw in that with the 4 energy troop. I forget his name off the top of my head, but Shadow Killers really was what took him to the limit, because that card by itself, like you said one earlier, I mean, that card itself could drop your mission cost requirement by like 4 or 5 in one turn by simply playing that.
The worst part is, say they have a full board and you have only 1 troop on yours, you get the mission with Shadow Killers.
Yeah.
That is 1 turn play. That means, like, it's not like they have a short supply of sentence either. It's not like, oh, if you have to line up the Shadow Killers, get it. Word Bearers is, I have to shoot myself in the foot the entire game, and at 10 energy, I'll probably be able to play it. With this, it's just like, by 4 energy, by like turn 4, so like 6 energy, I could have played the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. That sucks. That's not interactive. That's not fun.
Just like another thing to its supposed nerf, when they play Shadow Killers on turn 6 and they get their mission and they have to wait till their next turn so they can play it and then wait for the next turn for the Relentless to kick in. Now they don't gotta wait for it anymore, right? When they play it on that energy turn 6. It's just this was not a nerf.
No, now do you think, because I mean this came out the 6th, May 6th, so hopefully by the time people are hearing this, I mean we're going into the Thursday the 7th, right? No, the 14th? Hang on.
Yeah.
Give or take. Do you think it's possible? And I mean, it's not like it's impossible, but I mean, it would have to take some serious, obvious problems where, like, if this became, if in the next 4 or 5 days, that's everybody's encounter experience, Discord fills up, inboxes, emails get sent, the Raven's Vengeance is too strong. Like, do you think they would retweak this in a couple weeks, or do you think they would wait all the way until June before we see this change again, or other Raven Guard cards changed?
That is a question
Has there ever been a precedent like this before?
Yeah.
Where they accidentally buff a card?
Yeah, there's been several.
Yeah.
We've had...
let's look at Ingathel.
We had Ingathel.
True.
We had Vengeance Garrow, which, you know, people... that wasn't a month, that was 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Vengeance Garrow. We had... there's been a couple where it's like, oh, that was a mistake. I mean, Launch Magnus was not a good thing. That was... He was... changed 2 times, I think, before the end of the first event or something like that. So it's not impossible. But as of late...
bring back Launch Dar. That was a good precedent.
Yeah, that was like, when they patched Dar, that was another one. Like, they patched Dar and like an hour later, they're like, we have to Change him.
Mirrors.
Yeah. So, I mean, there have been changes where it's been like, oh, that was an oversight, or we didn't even see that. And maybe we could get something like that. The only thing is, I mean, since we've had the new format for balance patches that they've done, I would say it's been almost a year. Actually, it's been more than a year. I think they started doing that back in February, where we would get the monthly balance patch as a regular, like first week of the month. And you really look back on it, you're like, oh, wow, they've been keeping up with that, aside from the 1 week that they have like a new expansion drop. So it's been kind of not frequent enough to say that that's a possibility, like that's probable, but it's not impossible, if that makes sense. I think they could. If people screamed enough, and if it was like blatantly obvious enough. I think the thing is if you just look at it and glance at it, you think, oh, they changed the reward, but you totally forget that, wow, and they lower the cost, and the reward is right out the gate. Still costs 1 energy to play it, so it's still easy enough to play the turn that you play it, and you still have other things in hand.
And another bad part about it is, at least if I played a troop, on my turn it doesn't have sentence because I just played them.
Right.
Not anymore.
Nope.
No, it just has it now.
Just right out the gate. Yeah, so if you got a faster flanker, that's not going to work.
And keep in mind, though I haven't seen Captain Kyron been played in a while, as soon as you play a troop and it enters the battlefield with that sentence 1, it's going to get pinged for 2 immediately.
Yeah, that's true.
Kyron will just shoot it.
Kyron becomes a flanking defense, a defense against flanking, which the Raven Guard do not need. I think, I mean, going off on a little bit of a rant, tyrant, theoretical armchair quarterback balance patching here. I think the Raven Guard have needed for a couple months now changes not just to the mission, but to their card draw, because the amount that they can cycle is obscene. And while it's nice that they're combo pieces, when the faction launched, they were combo based. They were really kind of, that was their deal, and there really was another faction on par with them, and there was a lot of neutral tools that didn't exist. And while the change to drilling site was nice, you still have got Curse of the Raven drawing the card. You've got Arbor Slider potentially drawing a card. You've got, does Guerrilla Warfare draw a card? I don't think it does anymore. I think they took the card draw off of that one.
Bless.
Yeah, you just have got so many ways to draw and draw and draw. And if you don't want to, Deliverance draws a card. Like you have, so even if you can't draw, you can duck out with Deliverance or Stealth and buy yourself a turn to get a draw. So it's their play style, but they have a little bit too much, and I feel like they need to lose either the card draws on some of those things, or even the damage capabilities on some of those things. You know, like Guerrilla Warfare, instead of dealing it to a unit and the 2 adjacent units, just the unit and one of those random adjacent units or something. Like, it's got to be toned down. Like Shadow Killers, board wide 2 for 6 is, technically it's a Legion card. Technically, you'd argue it's acceptable with defensive satellites exist. And it wouldn't be so bad.
Be acceptable if it was a flat 2 and not a sentence.
I think it wouldn't be so bad if the mission didn't exist, as the mission requirement as it is.
Okay, yeah.
If the mission requirement was different, and it was just you could only lure it one a turn, like when you like one said, like if you kill a unit with sentenced, it could still potentially trigger, but like apply sentence or something.
I think that would be fair, at least.
Yeah, I think that would be fair. But the fact that the mission requirement and the Shadow Killers go so well together, that's really what makes Shadow Killers problematic more than anything. Shadow Killer sucks when it gets played against you, but it only does 2 damage by itself. You've got to throw other pieces out there, and you could kill a board with it, but you could also high roll with Death Sats and kill a board. That's entirely possible too. And at 8 energy, I can play Conqueror and kill a board. So it's not like it's impossible with other things. It's just really frustrating when they do that, and not only do they wipe your board, but then they got the reward that you don't want them to get.
Which,
And just the major problem with that is when you're a troop-based faction, and when we're living in a troop-based meta, like the Space Wolves and the Night Lords and supposed sisters that come along to combat them, it's just they build board, you Shadow Killers get mission, get rewarded, and then go on about your day.
Yeah, and they have no board to respond at that point. Board's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, talking about the Space Wolves and Night Lords, because those are the other two that are on the patch there. It's just changes to Giger and Sevatar, but what are you guys' thoughts on those?
I mean, they'll help, but I think they're not the biggest fish in the pond right now. So, as much as I'm like, all right, that's cool, they're balanced, there's a glaring obvious problem that they were kind of helping against that they no longer help against. So that's a shame.
Just my issue was Geiger. Sure, he got maybe a little overtuned, but it's not his ability that's broken. It's the warded up card pool that you can give buffs to, especially since Curse of Wolfen got a very unnecessary buff.
Mm-hmm.
That Survivor 1 on a Baelai, even the 3-4 or the 3-4 with Bloodthirst, the Bloodthirsters, it's too much. Yeah, it's just burst in a can. And Geiger was the high initiative that let you do it first, compared to the inconsistency of Russ as well. Because when you could shoot for 2 instead of having to swing every turn, like Russ had to, lowering his own HP, it just made him the worst option compared to Geiger.
Yeah. Well, and with medium initiative, I know there's a difference of 5 health, but you could just play Othar at that point and actually get more mileage out of your Curse of Wolfen on a Jordan Stalker squad. Giger and Sevatar in the meta report are number 1 and number 2 on both. Yeah. Rotate on both low and high Terra, with Korax in third on both low and high Terra. So it's not like they weren't top offenders. The use rate for Giger alone in high Terra was 14%, which anytime it's above like 8%, it screams like kill this card. This
Must
card,
perish.
yeah. I don't think it killed Giger. I don't think either of these guys will be dead, but that's not because, I mean, initiative hurts a little bit, but they get a counterattack for it. It doesn't change their ability at all. Like you said, it's the card pool. They still can Curse of Wolf and Jordan Stalker squad. You can still do that. You just have a chance that you might not be able to do it as quickly or as frequently as you were in the past. But I think these guys can still put up damage. The problem is if the number 3 guy gains a very powerful tool, and number 1 and number 2 take a little bit of a hit, number 3 will become number 1. And the question is, where will number 2 and number 3 fall? It doesn't do anything for anybody below number 4 through 50 or whatever it is, 4 through 25 on the meta report. And I don't normally dissect the meta report. I don't really normally pay too much attention to it, but just to kind of give some backdrop as far as why these 3 got changed, very targeted, very, very limited, and it feels like, okay, well, it doesn't change anything. Like, we didn't change Korax. We didn't change any of his other tools for the Raven Guard. We just changed the mission, and Korax can win without the mission. It's just the mission is nice for him to get, and now he can win it faster with the mission, for sure.
They just didn't change too. This meta will not be too different from last season's meta, I'm afraid. And last season's meta was already boring as was.
But yeah, I don't think next month's will really be different. I mean, no. And I'm not even mentioning or discussing, Sevatar in the mix, or not Sevatar, Sigismund in the mix. I think Sigismund will appear higher than he was, which was not.
It was non-existent.
Which is nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Which is great. Which is great for him because as an Imperial Fist warlord, like First off, as an Imperial Fist warlord, he was the least played Imperial Fist warlord of all. People play Fafnir, Rand, or Dorn before they play Sigismund. That's not a slam on either of those. That just shows where he's at. He was not hard to play, but he took some understanding to play. I played him out the gate from day one. I had fun with him. I played him. I got it, but I was going to get it anyways because that's my jam. That's my faction. So. But I could see that people play Pollux, people play Diaz, Nobody plays Sigismund. And then number 2, Sigismund is the Imperial Fist, like he is the Emperor's champion. He was the Emperor's champion. He was the greatest duelist of all time. And he doesn't hold a candle to the other duelists that are in the game. It's like, why? So he now has got something on par with them. Corswain, Lucius, potentially Garrow. Pick another duelist for me. Pick somebody out there who does something. Did I name the key ones?
Say Lucius?
Yeah, we say Lucius.
Yes, he said Lucius.
Listen, Lucius is so unimportant to me. I blank out his name.
Sevatar, Sharokin. Like, I mean, he can now be on that level and that par and have the Imperial Fist stuff that he already had anyways, but he actually has a functional ability and can work with things. That's great. And I think he's going to get played.
My mind was blown when they made the Emperor's Duelist. Yeah, I know his official title is Emperor Champion, but you know what I mean. As a defensive character. That's not how Sigismund works. Sigismund's the most bloodthirsty Imperial Fist behind Ron. Yet he comes out and he likes to just stand there and watch.
Yeah, just backslash or not backslash counterattack whenever someone swings at him.
Like what the first
it wasn't even
Heresy books has him doing a dick measuring contest with other people trying to brag about how strong he is. Like he's not gonna just stand there and be a defensive character.
It doesn't even I mean it is theoretically it's like they take more damage when they attack. So, it's defensive, but when you look at the damage output, it never evened out. It was never like, okay, like flat out Angron hits you for 3 and you hit him for 4, but guess what? You've got 5 health. He actually has to do that several times before you're on even footing, and that's if he's not hitting you with anything else that goes away, dies, tactics, etc. If you do that with Dar, guess what? Dar just pings you back because he took damage on his turn, so you hit him for 4, he hit you for 4, so it's an even keel. Karn can ping you, but those pings, like it was just all these things was like it seemed like a good idea, and if somebody was weak-willed, they might be deterred by you using that ability. But it really wasn't a great ability. It was really more or less like just a way to buy time to set up a better attack with the Death's Champion, Orders from Terra, something like that, like to combo it out. Now you can just straight Khorne's Favor, Orders from Terra. Like, I broke down the math. And just for people who haven't broken down the math, I'm going to list this out so you guys can understand. And there's other ways to get some of this stuff. You can combo it a little bit more depending on what pieces you've got. But roughly, the most basic guideline for Sigismund damage. For 2 energy, for no energy, he does 3 damage. For 2 energy, he does 4 damage with Death's Champion. For 4 energy, with Orders from Terra, he does 6 damage. For 5 energy with Khorne's Favor, he does 8 damage. For 7 energy with Khorne's Favor and Death's Champion, he does 10 damage. For 9 energy with Khorne's Favor and Orders from Terra, he does 16 damage. And if you're lucky enough to get a Khorne's Favor, a Death's Champion, and an Arvis Lighter, and an Orders from Terra, you can do 20 damage. That's a lot of potential. Obviously, it gets higher up the more energy you get and the more pieces you throw in there, and he's got to survive to get to that point. But before, it was just like, well, I'll do 2, maybe I'll do 4, maybe I'll do 8. At best, 12 with old drilling sites. But now, he can do a lot more. And he doesn't have to run that way. He can still run Imperial Fist stuff. He can run neutrals. He can run Solar Auxilia. He could run Cultist. He could run Mechanicus. He could do what he wants because he's the Emperor's Champion, baby.
He is. He's got his beautiful golden armor. And by the time you hear about this, it's already gone. But he got a real nice ult.
I got the ult art. It looks so good. Looks so good, guys.
Not GW. EG saw the new book cover that just dropped and we got it, boys. We found it.
Yeah.
Send the artist home. Don't need them.
Nope, this is what we're using. I love it because it's slow walk too. It's like movie slow walk. I can hear the music and the explosions in the background as Sigismund just kind of as he's walking, it's like whoa, and Aerosmith music riffing in the background. I don't want to lose a thing.
Mercy, brave. Just as he's walking.
That's
up.
Right.
It's perfect. It fits
even as you close your eyes.
God damn it!
I mean, it's not Flash Gordon this week. It's Aerosmith.
No, it's.
Anyways, it's a great art. So if you got it, if you were lucky enough to get it, good for you. If you didn't, I you know what? There's always next time, guys.
There is.
But it's worth it. The emotes, unfortunately, are lost. His 3 rarity, his 3 epic emotes, for whatever reason, are not covering or carried over. Like, I think we're probably going to have to get like a little pseudo mini patch from every guild. Have you noticed? This seems to be a trend. I won't say every time, but like usually like every other time they have an alt art, they have problems getting the alternate voice emotes to be available right away.
No. So you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to what?
Fuck, I just zoned out for the extra emotes. I'm pretty sure, for alt art emotes, you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not supposed to get them. But sometimes, as long for Primarchs, if you don't already have them. But if you do have them, you're supposed to get them.
Right. I've already got them. So that's what I'm saying.
So you should be having them. The mods have talked to the community manager. We've told them about this, so it should be being fixed soon. But for those at home who's like me, unaware of this, if you don't have all the lines, you're not supposed to get them when you get the new alt art. They have been nice and given them before, but they're not supposed to. So.
Have you noticed that just like seems to happen a little bit more regular lately?
Oh yeah. Yeah. From time to time, it happens a good often. That art perfectly lines up with your level. That's
so good.
It's so good.
And I got I got the card back. I got the banner. I got the quote under it. I'm all Siggy'd up, baby.
I do like the card back. I will say that much at least.
Yeah.
I might play some tournaments just to win that.
Yeah. Get that Sigismund card back. It looks good.
Sigismund is a cool character. He now actually has proper representation, because before his in-game form was not great.
I do just have one issue with the change to Sigismund, and it just brings up how power-crept Angron is.
You mean like how left behind he is?
Yeah, power crept. He's just been left in the dirt. World Eaters haven't gotten love in a while. I feel they need an entire rework to just fix them. Because right now, Karn as is, he can rush you down, so any buff to World Eaters subsequently buffs him. They just need a rework entirely.
Yeah.
You're not in the minority thinking that.
No, I won't disagree. I mean, it's not like, Angron didn't dominate for the first 2 years of the game. He did. But the more three attack warlords we got, the crazier they got. The less crazy he looked, and really, solo Angron decks can still run, but they don't run anywhere near like the strength that the other stuff can do. Is like, well, I guess I ran out of tricks. He just runs up and goes home. I think a big World Eaters, and it wouldn't have to be it would have to be a rework, because a basic patch, we'll just change some health and some numbers around, the entire direction of the World Eaters would have to be reevaluated, because their entire concept is we have rage and we have pings, and everything just hits hard. Okay, that's not enough. First off, because there's a lot of cards that just nobody plays with. And second off, because the Warlords are the ones that are setting it back. If we had the Harl squad warlord ability for Karn in place of what he has now, that could be cool. That could be alright. That'd be a way to change him up a little bit. Dar is okay for what he is, but he technically is a better Angron as well, because he can choose not to attack.
He can have troops.
Yeah.
He can do more than just 3 damage per turn to the enemy warlord solo.
Yeah.
Given his ability.
I think when the Reckonings and the Whispers had the health reduced, the health gain that they got reduced, that was really the end for Angron. And I mean, you can still play him, but that was his one clutch that he had left was that 4 additional health, or 3 additional health, but that was usually enough to get off that Orders from Terra combo late game with your Whispers. And now,
Funnily enough, the season before they made that change to the Whispers, I was running an Angron deck into top 50 that sole purpose was getting its Whisper, ordering from Terra, and just murking the opponent for 20 damage out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now they took that away from them, and now you can't even do that because you don't heal enough to swing twice.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a real shame, because, Angron Whispers was niche. It would have been nice if Whispers were kind of different HP depending on the warlord,
but that could be horribly unbalanced, depending on their treatment they give certain warlords. Like if, I don't know, Kurz healed 10 instead of the normal when he popped it, but other warlords gained like 2. Like, that would screw everything. Still think our boy Vulcan should heal.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I mean, Vulcan's Whispers or Reckoning is the only really odd exception, but he also doesn't change his ability. It doesn't change. It just changes his attack by 1. So he actually doesn't change at all. But everybody else is just a flat. The only things that they've ever changed with them are like the cost reduction or what it takes to change the cost. But they've never changed the actual like health repaired. And maybe because it's a Whisper's Reckoning and a transformation, as it were, they couldn't. But I feel like they technically could, because we did it with the One of Many from the Alpha Legion. Rom heals for 5. I feel like Rom always healed for 5, though.
He's always healed for 5.
So it wasn't like he was healing for 8. So I feel like it could be possible. But I don't know, like, if they did it, like, then you'd really have to micromanage that too. Like, oh, this guy, we actually, 2 months ago, he heals for 2 too many. We got to change that, but this guy over here heals for 3 too less. We got to change that. Like, maybe that would just be too much for them to do, and that's why they don't. I don't know.
Yeah. It could be a lot of balancing there, because then they have to actually decide, based on a report they don't really see yet, how much should he heal.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it's like, it's current iteration, it just kind of, some warlords don't heal enough, some heal too much. Well, not really too much. But even then, I don't really think it even needed to be lowered.
No, that's still the argument to this day. The Reckonings did not need that nerf.
Nobody asked for it. It's just like out of the blue. It's like, hey, you know what? Reckoning's nerf. What? Why? You know,
I believe that was the season they ignored like Kinza too, so it was just that much outrage.
Well, I believe that balance patch was also gave us the buffed Punisher, because we needed that, and Targost, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Which went wild. The Targos buff, that's lasted to some degree up until just recently, and even still, he's still got 5 attack. Warren, now that you mention it though, like I'm looking at this image here, and Sigismund, the new Sigismund alt art, does look a little bit like a muscular Patrick Stewart. I do see that.
All right, there we go.
I do see
that like that's a problem.
No, he's engage. Come on. Engage and buy this alt art. That's what you should be doing. Engage and slay some heretics. Make it so.
There's Professor X.
you see Professor X. I see a certain starship captain, and I think oh man, why is his character's name on the tip? Picard, a buff Picard. That's pretty funny.
He is. It's buff Picard. I don't think I could do a Patrick Stewart voice, but no. I'll try.
No.
I don't think I want you to try.
No. Let's not try to do Picard imitations here. Patrick Stewart imitations. Did you ever see that skit that he did on Saturday Night Live with the erotic bakery?
No.
Can't say I have.
Oh, it's a classic for me. When I see it, for me, it was in the 90s. It was he hosted. I think it was his first time hosting, and the premise was he's this baker at an erotic bakery. He's really happy. He's really proud of this erotic. It's like people go here to buy goofy erotic cakes for parties, is like goofs and pranks. But every cake he makes is a cake of somebody going to the bathroom on a toilet. So the whole skit is like different people bringing back their cakes. They're like, yeah, we asked for something erotic for this party, and you just gave us a cake with a woman on a toilet. He's like, yes, it's erotic, isn't it? So just the skit of like having Patrick Stewart say that was humorous enough.
Amazing.
I'm gonna link it to you guys. I want this in your head. I want this brain nugget.
I don't think I want to see it.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna just let it happen.
I think of Patrick Stewart in 2 ways. I think of Picard instantly, and then I think of him shooting a gun at the ground, yelling about lilies. I don't know if you've seen that clip. I forgot that's even from.
I don't know where that's from either, but I just know you motherfuckers are killing all of my lilies, and he's shooting a gun at all.
I have not seen that.
So good. I don't know what movie it's from, but it's hilarious. I need to find it.
I have not seen that. Yeah, the other one I've seen with him is when he was in, was it Extras? The show Extras? And he's playing himself. But he's like, oh gosh, who's the actor? It's an all English show. It's the comedian guy that did the host of the Oscars a while back. Oh, why am I drawing a blank on the guy? He's got a bunch of different. He did the British version of The Office.
I can't remember.
I'll draw it up here later. But anyways, it's his show, and he's the main character. But the whole point is he's an extra, and he runs into all these different actors. One of which is Patrick Stewart, and Patrick Stewart is like he's really convinced that he's got the next, like he's written a movie that he wants to get made, and it's a terrible movie, and the guy has to like kiss up, to Patrick Stewart, and like Patrick Stewart is like the movie is just like. He's written a whole bunch of scenes where he's just like, making out with women, and he's just like, it's like, yeah, this is just a little bit too much. It's like, no, it's great. It's like, I don't think this is going to go over, but Patrick Stewart is just into it. Safe house.
That's a good way to describe it.
And then, the same show had another scene where with Ian McKellen, and he's doing like he's taking an acting class with Sir Ian McKellen, and he's like it boils down his routine. He's like, now, when I was in X-Men, I had to play a character who could move metal, but I can't move metal. That is acting. It's like, what? Yes, like it's a good show. It's called Extras, if you can find it. I'm gonna Google it here. We're not plugging anything. We're on a tirade right now about Raven Guard, and this is what they do to us. They make us go this route, and we talk about British shows and actors and other things that they've done, other comedy sketches. Andy Millman is portrayed by Ricky Gervais. Why couldn't I remember that name?
Ricky Gervais.
There you go. Anyways, back to Sigismund alt art and the balance patch. Have we covered everything? Do we have more thoughts? Do we have more rants?
Really, I don't think we can. I like how Nidoran is guaranteed to be added to the game here soon.
Yeah. Would you have any plans for him? Just a Solar Auxilia deck?
There's the Solar Auxilia build, there's Mechanicum build. Really, Sol's just a base all-around good warlord, and when you have a good warlord, you can build him any way you want.
I think so. And I mean, it's infantry, so you put in some high-cost infantry, and you have some stuff that supports him, and he still has... He's got a better cost reduction than is available in the game anymore. 1 to reduce by 2, whereas everything else is 2 to reduce by 1, or 3 to reduce by 1. So, yeah, you can make that work pretty nice.
Yeah. When a Shipmaster Karya comes down for 6 energy, it's pretty scary.
Or Duke on turn 2, and you're like, oh, goddamn, that's not good.
Last thing you'd want.
Yeah. Turn 2.
At the very least, on ladder, they won't be able to pull out 2 Marcuses on me like they do in Event.
Yes, that's the worst, because then they both start giving a survivor, and you're like, well, I guess that's it.
I've died.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing him, because he should be fun. I don't know much about his character other than he's Solar Auxilia, so I'm not there yet.
He dies not in a really cool way, because he's just a normal dude. He's really badass.
I'll take your word for it.
He kind of stares down Angron.
Okay. Is he the guy? He's not
the guy in Defiant Stand, right?
No. Oh, no, it's completely different. It's more like
good.
Standing him down in a control room. So, without really spoiling what's happening, Angron offers some of the defenders a chance to surrender. And people are thinking about it, so I was like, shoot him. No, fire upon him. Cannons now. And they just fire upon Angron.
Yeah, I can see that not going so well for him, but
yeah. Angron is this might be a spoiler, but Angron survives the 40k.
What?
Wow.
So you can kind of guess that the blowing him up doesn't work, but it is a really good scene.
Okay.
Yeah, only person that can stand up to Angron is Latara, so I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be out of left field if they just killed off one of the Primarchs for no reason, earlier than he should be dead, and just don't elaborate?
I think they really had some potential to do that, and then make you think that, wow, they really did kill this person, and then have them come back 5 books later. I get why they didn't, because then you can't really build that character up at all. But there could have been at least 1 or 2 warlords. I think the closest one that they did was Vulcan. That was kind of an up in the air question for a long time. Did Vulcan actually just die? Because even the lore Like, I know the lore has been expanded on since, but at the time of that book, with the Isfahan 5 scene, the only lore was like Vulcan was pseudo-mentioned, like post-heresy, but not like the Salamanders didn't do anything. Vulcan really didn't do anything. You didn't really know where he was. He was listed as being one of the opponents of the Codex Astartes, him and Rogel Dorn, and I believe Korax disagreed, and Lehman Russ disagreed with it, but they were kind of in the minority. So I could be wrong. Lehman Russ definitely disagreed with it in terms of implementing it, but I don't know if he was there to voice his opinions. But Vulcan and Dorn definitely did not agree with the idea. And that was all there was. And you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe that wasn't true, because there was also some other stuff about Ferrus Manus, and then we ended up getting him. He's alive. He's alive. It took like 8 books to show that, but, eventually.
Chilling.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to bring back Ferrus Manus as a leader of the Legion of the Damned and just double down on that. What is their actual title? I keep calling them Legion of the Damned, but Legion of the Lost and Damned is the name of Traitor Force.
Yeah, it's Legion of the Damned. Legion of the Damned
is damned?
Yeah, is the
It's one additional word from just being the catch-all term for traitor guardsmen.
Right. Lost and Damned is the traitor guardsmen. Legion of the Damned is the Revenant Knights, basically. The ones wreathed.
The undead.
Yeah, the wreathed in flames and vengeance. They're the Ghost Rider Marines, really.
I love them so much.
They've got Penance Stare as a weapon. Instead of shooting bolters, they've got like flaming chains. We're not talking Doom Rider. We're talking like loyalist Doom Riders here.
Yeah. And the best part about them is it's not even hidden that they're basically like undead demons, because they'll cover battlefields with like little objects and go around resurrecting dead Marines to join them.
If you get called
crazy. I love
to fight for the Legion of the Damned, you're going to be fighting for eternity, but it's for vengeance.
To be fair, I mean, the Space Marines know that already.
Yeah, that's what they do already. It's not any different. Like, that was just a normal day we're talking about. Every battle's for vengeance.
That's why I would be totally down if Ferrus Manus just came back from the dead to lead them. I say come back from the dead. Be more dead. And yeah.
All right. Well, when you're not playing Legions, what is it you're doing right now? What you up to, Juan?
Currently, I'm just wrapping up school. All my finals end next week. Just trying to finish some physics homework right now, and really, that's about it. I'm looking forward to graduating next May, getting my bachelor's in science.
Congrats.
We'll see where I go from there.
My buddy just finished a bunch of his exams for his law courses. He had a week-long exam.
A week-long exam?
A week-long, one exam, 2 questions, I think he said, or was it 3? And it ended up 30 pages long.
Was he on like an episode of like The Bachelor or something? Like, how did that go for a whole week?
It was basically they gave him the exam at the start of the week, and then he had to hand it in at the end of the week.
I mean, it would be more dramatic if he was in the classroom for 7 days.
The entire time.
Exactly.
No sleep. Caffeine IV drip.
That's it. Like, this exam is... And there was only 2 questions. They wouldn't let me leave.
That's the worst part, too, where it's 2 questions. You have 6 hours to complete it. That's scary.
Yeah, because you're like, am I supposed to take all that time? I never took all the test time. I know some people did. I always consider myself a fairly good test taker. I never got bad grades on tests, except for one test, and it was very deliberate. And I'll say this here now. Oh. So I'll put this on record. This is my sophomore year, 10th grade, English.
Okay.
I knew I aced this test. 100%. We got like an hour and a half to do the whole exam. We get to the essay portion, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to write the essay. So I just didn't. Oh. I just turned in the 2/3 of the essay, 2/3 of the test. Oh. I didn't do the essay. I knew that the essay counted for 1/3 of the grade of the test. And I was like, I got an A. I can pass with a 66%. I'm good. So I did. And I got my report card mailed to me 2 weeks after school was out. And sure enough, it was a D for the final exam, but like a passing grade, like an A, or it was an A. It was like a B.
Don't scare me like that. I thought you said a D for the course, and
no. It was a D just for the final exam, and I think it was a B- for the course because of the final exam score. But I was like, I knew it. And then I had the teacher the next year. I had the teacher for my English teacher the next year, and the first day of class, like as we're leaving, he's like, Danny, like, I got your test last summer, and I was confused because there was no essay, and I didn't get an essay. I wasn't sure if you didn't turn it in, and you didn't say anything. And I was like, no, I just didn't want to do it. I just didn't feel like doing the essay. He's like, but you got the D. I was like, I knew I got an A and everything else. And, I was so proud of that. And then, years later, I look back, I'm like, man, I could have just got the A. It didn't mean anything to me at the time, because in high school, I was told my first day of high school, my mom, before I got out of the car to go to high school, she's like, listen, you're not going to college unless you get, scholarships, because I can't pay for that. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to college then. So, that was my attitude for, 4 years in high school. It was I'm not going to college, so I'll just do high school stuff that I want to do. I'm not doing the ACT test. I ended up going to college later on my own volition after the fact, but that was the attitude, that was the philosophy that I was like, you know what? I don't want to do the essay. So I left, and I left class an hour and a half before everybody else, and they just saw me get up and leave, and they're like, what the? It's funny. I laugh about it. It's not something I would encourage my daughter to do now, but I'm just sharing.
Don't be like stuff.
Don't test like me unless you're a really good tester and you're okay with it.
So
I've done that gauntlet before, where I've looked at my score and I'm like, I really don't want to do this project, and it's only worth 5%. I'm sitting at a flat 85. I could take the hit. I did that once. It's a bad idea, kids.
The funny thing is, you're talking all about this, and in one course that I've taken, I've gotten all the extra credit for it. I've gotten A's on every past thing. It's to the point where I've got an A++, and I'm just skipping the final.
There you go. If you got the extra credit to cover the final, then that works. College is a little bit more different that way, though, because typically you can go all the way up to the final, and you'll know exactly what your grade is going to be, because your professor can share that with you if you're really into it, or where it's at. That's never the case in high school. I don't ever remember, aside from gym, when you're I drafted out every day, I got an A. There's what are you gonna get? Not an A in gym?
So it just, in high school they took the averages, whereas in college it's more so points that lead up to a certain goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know what points you put in. You're like, okay, this is what's left, and this will get me that, and I'm good to go. So you're a little bit, and typically in college you're more invested in your education, so you should have a better understanding of it. But yeah, that's funny. So you're testing. Well, very good.
Yeah, everything's been going great so far this semester. I'll make it onto the dean's list, which is only A's and B's this semester, so everything's pretty good.
All right. Well, how about you, Axel? What you up to?
What am I up to? Well, I'm doing what I'm normally doing. Work's being a bit slow, so I had a long weekend today, so I've just been chilling. But still running that D&D campaign. Players had to fight an Elder Brain Dragon today. That is a load of fun for me, and not so much fun for them. So, that's great. For the folks at home who don't know what that is, take a normal Elder Brain, give it the 80 movement of flight, and then the ability to insta-kill players from a distance. And you got it.
Yeah, just imagine the Mind Flayer as a dragon. That's the best way to briefly surmise it. If you don't know what the Mind Flayer is, then we're going too far for you. You gotta start baby steps.
If you don't know what an Elder Brain is, the king of the Mind Flayers, just imagine a Mind Flayer. If you don't know what a Mind Flayer is, do you even play D&D?
Yeah.
Hey, they're they're up there with Beholders. They're so classic.
They're very iconic. One, you play D&D too. Let me ask both you guys this. How do you feel about psionics?
Psionics?
Yeah. Psionics?
They're really weird, because they're just another flavor of magic right now. But sometimes they're not. And when they're not, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't like what they've done with them in 5th. Because when I say done with them, they're not there. They've just made the Tasha's Cauldron, added some subclasses with pseudo telekinetic abilities, but they're magic based. Whereas the other editions,
you can grab some alerts that give you psionic stuff, and there's at least one subclass that has it. But besides that, I don't know.
There used to be it used to be a class by itself where you literally that's what I do. I just shoot people with mind bullets and read minds. I could maybe use a dagger or a sword, but it wasn't magic. It was psionic points, and that's the psionics that I remembered. I never liked that. I never cared for psionics in general, unless it was a campaign where the setting made sense, where it fit, because it kind of was we're playing knights and wizards and stuff, and you've got some guy over here you know,
Force.
yeah, being Jean Grey or, you know, whatever. It's like, this doesn't feel like, you know, fantasy. But I respected the fact that it was a long-running, you know, part of D&D. But then 5th edition, I was just kind of like, okay, that's the closest we're going to get, I guess, with psionics.
Yeah. I mean, and the weirdest part about it is it's just reskin magic. It's like Detect Magic works on psionics for some reason.
Right.
Dispel Magic works on psionics for some reason.
Yeah.
Like it's a house rule at my table. Psionics isn't picked up by Detect Magic.
You just can't silence them. Like, that was the thing. Like, silence doesn't work on it, but okay.
Yeah, that's it. Because they don't say anything.
Yeah.
So my house rule is anything that specifically says counters magic doesn't work on psionics. Just because it's mind stuff, and there's almost nothing with psionics. So who really cares at the end of the day?
Yeah, but yeah, we've got all the psychic damage, you know.
Yeah, psychic damage exists, I guess.
Yeah.
Plus, having a mind flare use dominate person and not being able to counterspell is annoying, which did happen tonight. The paladin got dominated and then told to murder the rogue, to which he kind of too enthusiastically went and did. So
sounds about right. That's your party, fucking paladin rogue. Woo.
I love it.
Well, my paladin is also known as my associate, so that explains a lot. He's itching to murder. He also had his god turn on him today because he's an Asamir, whose angel is about helping people, and he refused to help people for like 3 sessions in a row. So he didn't have a good time today. It was funny.
You gotta follow that oath, man. You gotta follow that.
You gotta. Remember, amateur DMs and players, your DM exists to inflict pain, but make it funny for the rest of the party.
The biggest thing is, you gotta remember, you are the god in DM.
Yeah.
As the DM. Like, what says goes, but if you take it the wrong way, you won't have anybody to play with. So you gotta walk it right.
You gotta keep it a level. You gotta keep it a fun level.
Yeah.
It usually helps where if the majority of the players think that it's good, that usually helps, because then the other player will kind of go, yeah, you're right, it was funny. I had one player get angry because he didn't understand how legendary actions were, and he thought I was skipping his turn once, and I went, what? No, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, the first time I used a legendary action with my party, I had to because they were surprised, like, wait a minute, he just went, I'm like, okay, hang on, this is a legendary action. So right away they were like, legendary, what is that? I'm like, so here's what legendary actions are. The fact that this creature has legendary actions should be enough for you to be like, oh, that's not good.
I can't wait for your players to figure out what a mythic creature
is.
Oh,
they did. They had one, and they immediately ran away. Like, they were luckily they were able to teleport, but it was like we went into the whole mythic mode, and then like we just I'm like, yeah, so it's mythic, so now it's back at full health, and it's in different form, so it's got a few extra juices, and they're like, we're out of here. That was a good battle, actually. That was a really fun combat. Mythic creatures are cool. Pretty cool. Yeah.
You can really turn any creature into a mythic creature if you just like take another that's similar and use it as a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
They're very fun. I suggest if you're gonna have a BBEG, make it something mythic.
Yep. It adds some stakes.
Oh, it does. And there's something else. I forget what it's called, but it's on initiative 20. It gets to do something special.
Well, they've got layer actions. Yeah, layer actions.
Yeah, layer actions. I was gonna say the default Elder Brain has the fun ones, like being able to cast a wall of force at will as a layer action. So that's cool. Ooh. Layer actions are also fun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit to track when you get layer, legendary, mythic, but at the same time, those make for like the most rewarding combats. And then when your players do pull it off, if they pull it off, they just celebrate for the rest of the night.
Yeah, easily. I mean, D&D starts with a group of players killing like 3 goblins in a cave, and then ends with you fist fighting God. Like, that's just the way it is.
That's how D&D works. That's just your natural level progression.
I think there's actually an open letter in the players' handbooks that should say that. It should be like, listen, this is your first start. By the end of this session, after a year, you should be fighting gods and worshiping demons. That's what's going to happen. You're going to do one of those 2 things. Maybe both. Although that would probably be a batch 4 letter for like the Satanic Panic. Like, let's bring that back.
Oh god. Oh man. D&D is down with the devil. How many? You know, this is supposed to be a 40K thing, but what if we just put an episode where we go back through the Satanic Panic D&D movies? There's so many.
Oh, Maze of Monsters with Tom Hanks. That's my favorite. Are you kidding me?
Favorite in quotation marks.
That's the best. If you guys haven't seen it, first off, Google Google Mazes and Monsters, Tom Hanks. There's an epic scene in there. When I say epic, I mean it's terribly epic acting. But Tom Hanks was in that movie. And it's just people believe that this is how it was, and they still do. Some still do. And
I'm happy that there's a modernization of D&D and it's becoming popular.
Yeah,
but not to the level of some things.
No,
it hasn't been ruined yet.
No, and there's they did a remake. I'm trying to remember. There was a remake of Mazes and Monsters done fairly recently by Zombie Orpheus, which they're a group of gamers that have done The Gamers. They do a couple other short films. If anybody doesn't know, there's some video stuff I think out on Amazon. They used to have their entire catalog. Some fun stuff, mostly comedy and spoofing, role playing. But they produced a reenactment recreation of the. Dark Dungeons might be the actual one, what they called it.
I remember Dark Dungeons because it's like, yes, and now after your first game, you've made a pact with the devil.
Yes,
stupid shit.
Yeah,
and it was hilarious.
And so they redid it, and they did it. They intended to do it specifically serious because if you play it serious, you really see the satire with you. You're like, my God, this is comically bad and comically insane that people. There was a book written about this stuff. People followed this movement almost, as adamantly as they thought people followed D&D devil worship. It's crazy. Anyways, check those things out if you really want to delve into the, I don't want to say the seedy underbelly, but more the history of the dark times for role-playing games, as it were. Because in some way, I think 40K kind of comes out of that somewhat. Yeah, that's right. We start with Raven Guild, and we end Raven Guard ranting, and we end up with D&D. Got to end with
Raven Guild.
Raven Guild. Let's see. We're on D&D. I'm talking guilds. This is what's going to happen.
Hey, I mean, there was a new book recently for D&D. It was a monster book. I'm pretty sure. After Fizzman.
Yeah, it's not Mordecai's. It's Mordecanian's. Monsters of the Multiverse.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a DM hot take. How do you guys feel about custom lineages?
I dislike them.
You dislike them?
Very, very much. No,
okay. I don't like the default custom lineage, but I've kind of gotten fine with I'm going to play an elf, but I really don't want to be forced to be a dex guy. I'm fine with that aspect of it, but I'm not a big fan of the standard custom where it's like, oh, you don't gain anything special anymore. That was dumb.
Yeah,
everybody's a mountain dwarf.
Everybody is +2 in something with the specialization, or when I say specialization, the feeling that that was the whole point of having different denizens, different races. And I know even that word incites certain people. So we'll say species. That was the whole point of having different species as player characters to represent, some species can do things that other species can't. That's just the way it goes. And now, aside from Dark Vision is the one thing you can't hand out with that. Everybody can kind of tweak their stats how they want, do what they want. It really is the same base with a different skin. Everybody can just you know what? I look like a floofy bird. Well, I look like a dwarf. Well, it doesn't matter what you look like anymore. Because you can do the same thing, and it's just really a cosmetic. And
yeah, that's why I didn't like that came with Tasha's. That's why I didn't like that one.
Yeah,
they're trying to rein that in.
I get that. I get why they did it, but I dislike it, and I don't implement it.
You're 100% right. Swan, what you just posted. Their current version is more like no. You're still these races. Just now your +1 and your +2 is different. You can choose what they are, but you're still special on races, which you can tell that they did the original one, and then they realized no one liked it, and they're like, oh, fuck, change it. Then that's weird. They also changed the changeling into a fae, which means I might run a changeling if I ever get to play, simply so you can't, half the spells that say affect humanoid don't affect faes.
Interesting.
I'm gonna piss off my DM. At least that's the direct wording. So.
How are Yuan-Ti classified?
I need to check. I think they are humanoid.
Darn.
They got nerfed, I'm pretty sure.
Are we talking the monster or the purebloods?
Purebloods.
Yeah.
They got nerfed. They're no longer immune to poison.
Understandable. Resistant at least, though, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's a book I'm not going to pick up just because I think it reprints a lot of stuff that I've already got in other books.
Everything in there is reprinted.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's original. But the reprinted is... They did change minor things. Everything got slight adjustments. I'm just saying, if you do want to look at it, just look it up online. Just pirate it.
Agreed. Well, besides plugging online pilfering of Dungeons and Dragons books, is there anything you else want to plug?
They deserve it. Yeah, I'll do my plug first for once, and then Juan can do his if he has one. I'm gonna plug my boy Dorn. He does art. It's good art. He does commissions for the art if you want the art. That's Drew Lee Clark on Instagram. I think that's my piece.
All right. How about you?
Besides that, World Cup's coming.
In terms of plugs, I don't think I have anyone this time around. I've lost a lot of the people who I used to plug. They've all stopped playing. Darn.
Oh, not Kazra. Karmatos has come back, which blew my mind.
Who's that?
Karmatos? How dare you? How dare you laugh at the meme man, the meme decks of his meme decks.
Oh, Karma! Wait, he's back? Oh, I'm subscribed. I'm surprised I haven't got a notification yet.
Yes, YouTube's really bad for that. You might want to check.
Yeah, he's done. I want to say about 3 or 4 vids at least.
Huh.
He doesn't do them as much as he used to, but Karmatos is putting out a couple extra videos. So
I thought you were talking about that one guy who has the cam thing, the thing that moves around with him. What are those called?
You
know what cam girls have?
Cam girls? I don't know who you're talking about now. Now I'm totally confused.
Cams?
Body cam?
Yeah.
No, yeah, body cam. Not a body cam. Shoot, it's like a little model that
like a
mimics
GoPro?
what they're doing.
Oh, T.H. Hutch.
Yeah, T.H. Hutch. That's who you're talking about.
I talked to T.H. Hutch. I think we're going to try to get him on here at the end of this month. Although,
Fancy.
give or take, yeah, his avatar won't be on. He'll be on. But we're also going to be talking with the TOs for the World Cup coming up here probably within 2 or 3 weeks once registration's over and done, and we've actually got some rules for the tournament to really break down, discuss, and kind of put out the specifics out there for everybody. So we'll have that. But other than that, I'll plug deck slots like I always do because we need them. We especially if we've got Saul being added before we get 3 Legion warlords being added and any other warlords that get added from a raid event. It's mission critical here. We need some deck slots for all these warlords to have a place to play and sit in collections and look good. And then I will also plug the World Cup, like we talked about at the start of the episode. If you're still sticking on with that, check that out. Register if you're interested, or at the very least, check all of your content creators, because a lot of content will be coming out with the World Cup, whether it is from people playing them or people interviewing members who are playing them, sharing games that are shared within the lodge. There's a big swell of content come World Cup time. So very good stuff. I'm also going to plug the Steam stream for May that is coming up here. Expect it May 21st. That's in 2 weeks' time, probably a week from the time you hear this. The Steam stream will be out, and then that's 1,000 gold promo codes to give away. I'm also on Twitch, Scuff_D at Twitch. You can find me there, and I do streams there, not just of Horus Heresy Legions, but other games. I got some TSR Gold Box games. We were talking about Dungeons & Dragons. I got Mechanicus. I was going to pick up Chaos Gate today. I really was, but I spent $20 on the Sigismund alt art, and I'm fine with that because I think it's a great alt, and I was excited for it. I normally don't spend money on Legions, but I did this time around. So some of that money that was going to go to Chaos Gate went to that, and then I just bought Squadrons. Star Wars Squadrons, which was on sale. So I don't know if I'm going to Twitch that, but maybe I will.
It's a fun flying game.
Yeah, I just did the first 2 missions, so I got to get into it a little bit more to feel comfortable with it. But yeah,
it does control surprisingly good for a without a stick, flying game without a stick.
Yeah, once you get into the XY axis, I think it should be fine. And that so far graphics are really good. So which is as it should be. As it should be.
Yeah, and everyone's out here playing the Empire because obvious. Well, there's no other choice.
You gotta be a TIE fighter.
You can't make the bad guys the most stylish and expect me not to play the bad guy. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Aside from the X-Wing, maybe the A-Wing, none of the other Rebellion fighters
thing, right?
looked...
The X-Wing's the coolest looking one.
That's
the
it.
only one.
U-Wing? No thanks. B-Wing? What? The first time I saw B-Wing, I was like, I don't get it. And then I understood, as I got older, I saw how it worked, but it's that just looks ugly. The TIE Interceptor is so much cooler.
Oh, yeah. The X-Wing is really cool. I think that one looks really nice, the way the wings fold, and has a little Astrotech
Yep, Astromech.
droid in the middle. Astromech. But once you move past that, what do you got? That's it.
And then even when they did the expanded universe stuff, the old expand, when they started giving you, E-Wings, I hated the E-Wing. It looked ugly. It was super power creep. It was the E-Wing could do what the X-Wing and the B-Wing could do combined. Don't even get me started on the E-Wing.
Hey guys, Star Wars happened again.
Star Wars rant about to go off. Before we go, I'm going to plug my Twitch channel. So that's where I was on. That's what I was on. So yeah, you can get me. You can watch me have a Star Wars breakdown at some point if I start twitching that. I'm sure it'll happen. I'll be like, what the fuck is this ship doing here? Get out. That's not canon. I'm mad right now.
They did a pretty good job on that. I feel like if you're going to yell at them, you won't have too many reasons.
I will say this. From what I've played so far, it's visually, graphics, it looks good. So far it's playing. I've only played 2 missions. I am not a fan of the in-between mission stuff where people just walk up to me and talk. This is a flight game. I don't care about the backstory of everybody in my squadron. I don't care. I'm sure there are plenty of players who do, who want to hear that, but it also seems really odd, when you first meet somebody, it's hi, yes, well, where I came from, I did all, why would you just walk up to somebody you just met and give them your complete backstory? It just seemed odd to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love any game where, in order to introduce a character, he walks up to you and gives you every piece of information he's ever had about himself.
Yes, exactly. Oh, good, you're here. You're new. But one thing that you should know is that I don't like brownies. Because when I was a kid, my mom would give me brownies that were made with human flesh because she was a devil worshiper.
Because she was from Tatooine.
Yeah. You're
I didn't realize she played D&D.
You're wait a minute. This is an awful lot of information. I'm just giving you these papers. I'm not even in your squadron. Do you tell this to everybody you met?
It's their equivalent of a pickup line. It's their icebreaker.
Yeah. So aside from that, I like what I see so far. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Time goes on.
We'll see.
All right. Well, Juan, thank you for helping us rant and rave a little bit and kind of drift in different directions about this balance patch.
I think we do that every time I'm here, just about.
I think
not every time in general.
It's a requirement at this point. That's what we do.
We did just HHL. We'd just be sad. We'd be salty at things.
Yeah, and
this entire episode could have been a Raven Guard rant. We didn't want that.
No, people don't want. Listen, people are probably going to. By the time they listen to this episode, they should already be feeling it and be like, "Listen, I hear it. I just don't want to hear it again." So we give them something new. We give them something fresh.
Exactly.
We give them Raven Guild.
Raven
Guild from Ravinica. That's a campaign. That's a campaign.
God damn it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for me. Thank you for joining us. And next week we're going to be talking Sisters of Silence, I believe. So if you are want to get the faction spotlight, want to get the low details on the sisters, oh yeah, it's going to be good.
I feel uncomfortable. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
The sunlight dims.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Eternal loyalty.
Burn it! Burn it all! Well executed.